pretty sure Bob Hallett of Great Big Sea never learned to read music.
I think I heard him say that in an
I think
interview
it's in his book.
one time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know it's ringing
Yeah.
a bell. So I have read or heard that somewhere. Yes.
And he is now, been involved with Come From Away as a musical
Exactly.
influencer and a part of that production. And
That's right.
we will be talking about Come From Away shortly.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you one more question before we get into the
Okay.
books and what's coming up with that.
Sure.
And because you started so long ago, and we both sort of had that, you can't make it in the arts or you can't make a living, what would be the piece of advice that you would give someone who is artistically inclined in any way? What would you say is the piece of advice that worked for you or that helped you?
I think to do anything that is related. If it's related to what you want to do, like to be a little more open in the beginning to so that you can sort of feel it out and get some experience and move towards what you want. In the beginning, I think you have to be able to look to the prize. Keep your eyes on that prize, where you're going, what you want. But while you're doing that, if a job or an opportunity, a project, something comes up that would have an element of that you could then build on to get to where you want to go, do that. Just keep doing whatever it is that that's really important, I think. That you can learn from things to build up and just be part of it. I can't think. To me, that's the most important thing that you can do, to keep yourself involved in as close to what you need to be while you're on the road getting there, and you'll get there. Don't give up.
I think that's great advice, and I think that's sort of. Sometimes what people miss is that they expect to put out a book and the first book is going to change their life, or they paint the first painting, or they do the first thing. And the thing of it is, it's a journey.
Absolutely.
For me, I can say, I started by doing unpaid writing, really, to a degree.
Sure.
I've started a blog, and I would submit. And I had to build a resume. I had to build credits of,
exactly,
I'm able to do this. And then I got to a point where it's like, okay, I needed to, the paid work was coming and the free work had to go because I needed the money.
Right, of course.
And I had built
I'm very
a resume.
practical, like I said.
Yeah, and I did
you have
stuff
to make a living. So
I wrote content online, and I didn't really care for it, but it was writing.
No.
And so then I could put that as a resume piece. And so I built over time, a career.
That's right, a street cred, as they call it. You got yourself some street cred, of course. You need to. You have to. You can't. No one can know it unless it's out there. It may be in a person, but unless it's out there in some way, some form, no one will know that. So do whatever it is, amateur, volunteer, get involved with whatever it is on that journey to where you want to go, and just keep at it.
Yeah, and I think also don't be afraid to monetize it.
Well, that is, I learned a long time ago when I very, very first started in this, when someone gives you a compliment and they say, I really like that last print that you did with the mummers, I learned to say, oh, thank you so much. I was really happy with how that turned out, because instead of, as a Newfoundlander and as a woman, I think, although I hope I'm not stereotyping here too much, but we tend to be overly modest. And we tend to say, oh, well, it's okay, or I didn't quite, that never really worked the way, and point out something in it that we thought should have been better. And then the person who wants to give you that money, they want to know that you're happy, that what you are selling them is something that you are really proud of and pleased with. And, once I learned that a long time ago, and not to put down my own work, because that's so easy to do, as and it takes a while to learn that. But if someone gives you a compliment, to simply say, "I'm so glad you like it. Thank you. I really did my best." Whatever. Don't point out what you think you could have done better. And that's very important. If there's one skill that a young artist of any kind, musical, acting, writing, visual art, whatever. And in fact, in general, if you're working in an office work and you do something and someone says, "Wow, you did a great job there," say thank you. And
That's
that,
it.
and don't pick it
argue
apart.
with people.
Don't argue with them. They're right.
They're right.
Yeah, that's a big piece of advice for everyone out there. Someone gives you a compliment, say thank you so much, and I'm really glad that you like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. We have to accept the money and accept the praise, and
exactly,
do the work. That's it. Just do the work. Keep working at it, and remember, it does have value. I think sometimes that art has the most value in the world. What a terrible world it would be without entertainment of any kind, and no beautiful art, and and no music, and no books to read. I mean,
well, Mary. I was just going to say, Mary Pratt passed away last year, and she had left many, many writings, of course, with the immense amount of incredible visual art. And at some point she said, "I began to realize in my life that the most important thing is the art."
Yes.
She actually wrote that in one of her memoirs, that, it's like, because it's what's left. It's the part that we give out of ourselves, and whatever, and it could be a hooked rug that someone's still enjoying. It could be a pair of mittens. It could be a story that a grandparent has, passed down through a family. It doesn't have to be something, but it is there when that person is gone. It's very important.
It's what remains of cultures. If you look
at
the past, if you look at history, and if you look at what intrigues us about the past, it's
right.
The statues on Easter Island. It's the great writings. We could even go back. The Bible is full of written art, right?
Absolutely.
The Psalms are poems. It's all art. That's what remains.
All of it. That's what remains.
That's what remains. And so I remember going through, and someone said, "Well, it's not. I mean, people keep ledgers and stuff like that of businesses."
Right.
And I said, "Yeah, I remember pulling out old ledgers and opening them up, and everybody admiring the beautiful cursive handwriting."
Oh, I know.
That's what people were noticing. They weren't noticing. They might say, "Oh, look, the price of flour was only, 2 cents a bag or something." But really, what they would notice would be, "My gosh, look at that beautiful handwriting." We don't appreciate it. We don't do that anymore. And that was art. Right?
Yep.
So
absolutely.
That's what remains, and that's the things we need to keep. And it also, art is very, it's how we make sense of the world. So
it is.
I think that's why it always remains, because it's how they made sense of the world, and we interpret it now. So
absolutely.
I want to talk about your other art, which is your books, and this is what a lot of us know. You've made your art really accessible through these stories and with your illustrations, because we see them on shelves, and sometimes paintings and other things take up more space, but books on shelves are. So tell us, how did you start doing the children's books?
The first children's book was, I wrote it in around 1996. My daughter was about 5 at the time, and there were a lot of alphabet books and around, and I thought, wouldn't it be cute to have a Newfoundland alphabet book? So the idea started, and I started just drawing some of the illustrations at that time. I shopped it around a little bit to a couple of the publishers. One publisher actually said that they were interested, but they only did one children's book a year, and so it would be, several years before they would be able to get to it. So I thought, oh my, that's a long time, and I decided to self-publish. It was a Newfoundland alphabet, and it came out in May of 1998. It was, in fact, last year was the 20th anniversary of that book, and it was and is amazing. It is a simple little book. It's still my favorite of anything that I have done because it was exactly what I wanted it to be. It was just a collection of words and images with a positive spin that was very approachable for children, and just what it says, a Newfoundland alphabet. And it was really, really successful. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. And after it was out for a while, then Flanker Press, they didn't exist, by the way, when the book first came out. That was prior to Flanker Press existing as a company. But
Wow.
when they did exist as a company, they approached me and said, we really like that book. And by that time, I had a second one, A Newfoundland Year, which I also self-published. And we talked about it, and I signed with them. And I have had an amazing time ever since. It's just been amazing. So, now I do about a book a year. And, I have their full support and the comfort of knowing that they're there. And I can't complain at all. Things have been going really, really well. And the books, they're everywhere. Flanker Press has such an amazing distribution system. So, you go into any Irving gas station, and you can buy my books. At the airports, and you can buy them. They're literally everywhere, and it is amazing, and I am so deeply grateful. So
and they're
just
evolving. Flanker Press. I'm full disclosure now. I am a Flanker Press author, or I will be in about a month.
And I'm so glad that you are.
I am too.
I'm so glad. That's fabulous. Congrats. Good for everybody. Good for me. Good for you. Good for Flanker.
My book is a good fit for what they do, and what they really do is Newfoundland. Not just Newfoundland. Mostly the stories have to be set or related to Newfoundland in some manner.
Right.
But they really do cover the Atlantic provinces in the sense that,
oh yes,
they have a presence everywhere, and they've just evolved as well.
Yes.
The Flanker Press when they started to now. Has changed. We're seeing more fiction, for example.
Exactly.
Still very much grounded in Newfoundland history and Newfoundland, not just history, but culture. Or even now, present day. But very much with that Newfoundland flavor. And so they've evolved, and they're everywhere. Like I said, their books are everywhere. So when I was writing this book, I was, my eye was sort of to that. They would be the ideal publisher for this book just because it is a Newfoundland historical fiction. And now we're like book family. So
We are book family, and I'm so glad about that. And I'm sure that you're going to have an incredible experience. It does.
So far, it has been wonderful. It has been completely seamless. Now, I'm particularly, I'm not typical about my writing in that. For example, when I submitted it, I was completely open to changing the name. It was a working title as far as I was concerned. I was open to any suggestions because, there's writing the book, and then there's selling the book. And
absolutely.
I have some marketing skills, don't get me wrong, but they're not particularly in publishing. And so, you have to kind of work as a team and utilize that, but you also have to be a partner in it and really be open. It's been completely seamless. Honestly,
Excellent.
It has been, I can't think, when I've said, I think I'd like it to be this way, and with reasons, I wouldn't just say because I feel like that'd be better.
No.
I usually have good, solid rationale, and they've been like, okay, I see what you're saying. And, and the book itself was edited by Donna Morrissey, which was to me a gift. And of course, she told
I tell you,
and I wanted her too, because if you have someone of that caliber who's so successful, who's the person who's looking at your book, you want her to be brutally honest and make suggestions.
Absolutely.
And she wasn't terribly awful to me or anything like that. It was really good. And because everything she pointed out was basically, yeah, I knew. I knew.
Yes.
I just didn't quite know how to fix it.